Asenivusele maswahla amahle ehlelweni Embili kanye libito lami ngiJohn ngakaPhires Sibongo kuyimvokotelo enkulu ukuthi namuhla ke besingaphindza ke sidibane kulo ke lihlelo lapho sikhulumisa khona ke tindzaba lesinenkolelo ukuthi ke titsinza ke eMaswati ngekwehlukahlukana evikini leliphelile sicale ke indzaba la yekukhulumisa ke simo kumbe longakhanza ukuthi kumbe labanyenti noma kumbe labanye bakiso ikakhulukati ke kumbe ngesimo semnotho nanaso ke lesikhona eveni labanye yebo kumbe abasiboni simo semnotho singleso lesilikhuni kodwa kukhona ke bantfu njengoba sathi ke ukuthi ke sichamuka ke kuma income brackets noma kumbe kuma economic statuses lehlukene bakhona ke laba kuma income paying brackets, middle income paying brackets nalabo ke labasetulu longakhanza ukuthi kumbe letidzingo ati sishaye ngekufanafanana umuntu lothenga singwa asithenga nemuntu lohola kumbe ngiyabekisa 120,000 asithenge nemuntu kumbe lokhanza ukuthi i-gross pay yakhe ngo-1,900 ngenyanga or even less kodwa bathenga singwa sinye ke esitolo longakhanza ukuthi kumbe kulabanye sekubabangela lokuthi kumbe beve ngazuthi kuyawufuna ukuthi ngithola ke imali engcenye kumbe ukuthi nami ngente nakho lokwentiwa ngulomuntu lohola imali engedulu ke kunami labanenge bathi khanza ke basetimeni lapho khona simo sengcondo sesingasiko kahle pheceleti bangena ke ku depression bangasakhoni ke kumbe kuphila kahle bangena ke kuma stressful situations akhona ke ama suicide cases lesene evidence siwabonile ukuthi ahambelana nokuthi umuntu tindzaba tetimali tikwelete bese timngame ngendlela yokuthi akasadi ukuthi athathe ini ke abhice ini futhi sithi kasikhulumise lendzaba namhla esigabeni sesibili kakhulukati ukuthi tikhona letinkinga I think kulamaviki lamabili endlulile besikhulumisa yona lenzaba ukuthi tibangwa yini letintfo yini lokungabangela Pires lokungabangela kumbe umuntu lomadiko noma kumbe wena licobo ukuthi utikhanze kuleto dimo leto ama behaviors nema drivers aleto tintfo leto sakubuka ke lokunengi sakukhulumisa kodwa namuhla siyafisa ke kubuka nakakhulukati ama solutions ukuthi yebo ke sewukhona la so utikhanza kumbe uvele ngenhloko basho njalo tikweletini ucwilile kumbe setikubangela ke ukuthi ungasakhoni ke nekulala kahle ke buthongo yini longakwenda sethemba ukuthi nje eMaswati ayawusitakala lesikujabulilako ke ukuthi umsakazo Eswatini TV uyadiphinza letinhlelo ngenhloso ukuthi kungabi ngazuthi nje sendela ukuthi siyadigcumisela emoyeni labo labadendako sebawendile umsebenzi wathi utendlula inhloso yethu ukuthi tikhulumise etidzingo teMaswati tigucule ke futhi netimpilo tawo ke eMaswati kungakho utawukhanza lohlelo seluyabuya futhi ke ngayitolo luyabuya kumbe ngakusasa elongakaliboni namuhla uyalibona kusasa nokutiphinza letintfo njengebafundisi bashumayela sonveni ukhanza ukuthi ke bantu bagcina kumbe bayevisisa bayekhuteka lapho bakhuteka khona bayaboniseka lapho ke baboniseka khona abuyile ke majale bengihleli nawo ke mavikini amabili endlulile nguObeth Manyanye kanye ke na Celimusa wakadlamini ngidabe ngihleli nawo ke namuhla ngitawabingelela Manyanye, a very good evening once again, my brother, and a warm welcome to the program.
Thank you, John Pires, and greetings to the viewers in Makaya, Sianvusera, and we welcome you to the program.
Thank you so much, Manyanye. Dlamini, anguvusele nkosi nguphe lithuba lokubingelela eMaswati.
Siyabonga Pires, siyajabula kuphindze sibuye sibe sehlelweni, siyavusela kuwe, siyavusela kubabukeli, siyavusela ngManyanye.
Yeah, the program Manyanye, the program's name is Embili kanye, and I think the intention is to make sure that as we move forward as a country on development issues, on economic issues, health issues, and so on and so forth, no one lags behind or no one remains behind. The subject we are talking about today, once again, is an important subject according to probably myself. But I don't know, I need you to give us a picture once again. How much of a big problem this is for the country? The issue of stressful debt for many people. I'm asking this question because I know you are also on the print media writing on a weekly basis to try and speak into the issues of how to manage your finances, how to save, how to create other streams of income, and so on and so forth. The issue of stressful situations because of finances, how big is this of a problem in Eswatini?
Okay, thank you so much, John. It's not only in Eswatini, it's a global pandemic, just like the COVID-19. It affected everyone. Even the one who is not necessarily in debt can be affected one way or the other, because suppose you are owed by someone, I'm owing you, it can end up stressing you because you have to call me now and again and tell you I don't have your money. it will stress me because you'll be calling me, I don't have your money, the situation is bad, the economy is bad. So basically, it's a pandemic that is affecting directly and indirectly a lot of Maswat and everyone else out there. Yes. So I love the program when you're talking about Embili Kanye because what I understand is the situations that affect you as an individual can affect the next person indirectly. If your financial situation is not doing right, your family is affected. Your family might be my clients. And then if they are not financially okay, my business is affected one way or the other. Then Lamin also is going to be affected. It becomes a chain. So financial problems, debt, stressful debt, it will affect one person, few people at the beginning, but then it becomes a pandemic as we go.
Yeah. Utheni wakho umbono Dlamini ngibuta lo mbuto lona ngaloko ukuthi akufuni ngathi lenza basikhulumisa ngaloko ukuthi hey Pires wathi uyafunza la bhalile emanyanye lapha weva kumchaza lokho akubhalile emanyanye ikhona kangakanani inkinga yokuthi mawuthi uyalalela kumbe mawuthi uyeva njengababekisa ngetindzaba tetincingo ukuthi lucingo lolungenako noma loluphumako loluhambelana nekuthi hey imali yami ngiyithola nini noma kumbe nalona uyachaza hey imali anginayo ingakanani lenkinga le both at an individual level and perhaps because of your presence at an entrepreneurial level bosomabhizinisi lokhanza ukuthi kumbe labanye baze ba rely kumbe kubo Shylock kukhona kufeza tidzingo ukuthi le office imane lingavaleki ngikhona ukuholela abantu noma kumbe ngikhona ukuthi lokho lengikwendako ngikhona ukuchuba ingakanani le problem evenda kangwane mangabe ikhona
yinkulu John siyabonga ngalombuto lo yinkulu lenkinga lekhona lelefaka ukuthi bantu noma amabhizinisi asekonetini nawubuka nje ukuthi kuwaphuma emaphephandabeni ukuthi imishado lengaka seyingathi result noma end in divorce ihliphekile kwa divorce okwasimangalisa because bokunenombolo letinkulu and bekwenteka esikhathini lesifishane and ema statistics ayakhombisa ukuthi ipressure lenyende emshadweni lenta ukuthi imishado ihliphike kuvame ukuthi yinvo umsuka wayo lokuvama ukuthi ube setimalini lokhanza ukuthi sekungenwe etikwenetini kwentiwa lokwa nalokwa and then le pressure leyo igcina seyilakha affecta timvo letinyenti ugcina lo mshado sowufeyila not because labantu kumbe bebangathandzani noma kumbe kukhona lophuma waya ngaphandle but umsuka wakhona usuka etimalini so kuya affecta at that level as the family so nakuhliphe umshado ke akulimali lababili bebashadile kuphela banifana imindeni yonke lebeyihlangene sokuba nema issues ebusinessini sikubona kakhulu khanza ukuthi nawo nengapane nje awusakhona ukuholela tsebenza awusakhona ukubhadala irent ukhanze ukuthi ngasinye isikhathi ukhanze ukuthi uyashayelwa awusashayelwa ngilo longakamholeli ungicela musa so shayelwa bantu labale ekhaya kubo bathi hey lana siva ukuthi babe uthi akahole sifuna afind out usivela kahole mbamba yini lana sifuna cabanga ukuthi unengapane soshayelwa ngumuntu ukuthi kuphele libisi uyabona ukuthi ukulimata kangakanani and hayi ukuthi awamholeli ngoba wawufuna udevelele imali omholeli so kuba nje complicated kakhulu khanza ukuthi njengoba ushido sekuba nema cases of suicide kulabadzala nalabancane bosomabhizinisi ukhanza ukuthi kuba nema cases of suicide obviously that started from a depression and my issues of mental health so lawo ngilesingawaboni but siwabona thina nasafika ku suicide so you can imagine ukuthi unganani lo monakalo lo wendeka in the back end.
He's touching on a very important aspect, because I'm trying to think of 2 people, or say maybe out of 5 people, you'd find that 3 of those are in financial troubles, but 2 of those are managing. And if you look at their sources of income, they probably derive their incomes from the same source, but 2 are managing very well, and maybe 3 of those are not coping. What is the problem? Where do we lose it in terms of having other people managing and others not managing? Is it an issue of financial management? Do we need to be taught at an early age? What really happens? What are the drivers, or what are the situations that influence that 2 people with similar situations, one is managing and the other one is not managing?
Yeah, that is the reality that is out there. You'll find that people, they are getting the same income, or you'll find that someone who is even getting lesser income is managing very well, because it's all about priorities. What you prioritize and what I prioritize, if those things are not the same, definitely the results won't be the same. Because as much as the prices are the same in most of the commodities we use, but some people, they buy smart. you go into a shop and you look for the things that are important to you, while if someone is spending on luxuries, things that are not even needed. You spend money on things that are not important, that are not productive. So as a result, you find that managing your lifestyle is a key cause of financial stress.
Yeah.
If you fail to manage it, you find yourself spending almost everything you have or more than you have, while the other person is actually living within his means.
Yeah. You using the term managing your lifestyle. What exactly is it that people do lifestyle-wise that influence whether or not they are going to find themselves in a stressful debt situation and one thriving at the same time? What are these lifestyle patterns that people have that may contribute to them not managing their finances properly?
Okay, when you're talking about lifestyle, you are talking about the way of living. All right, there are expenses we incur for us to be able to live. And you find yourself spending on things that the other person in a certain income bracket is affording, but you yourself, you're not affording. But you want to jump into the lifestyle of someone else, which is not yours. What we mean here is, when you're talking about lifestyle, like I'm saying, it's the way of living. So let's say you have an iPhone. I've got an Android phone. Then I look at John, he's got an iPhone. Then I want to buy an iPhone, but do I afford it? I fail to prioritize. Is it necessary for me to have an iPhone? Or what am I going to use it for? I look at Lamin, he's driving maybe a 3-liter vehicle. Then I want to also buy a 3-liter vehicle. Do I afford to service? Okay, maybe I might afford to buy the car, but do I afford the fuel to go to work? What is Lamin doing with this vehicle? How is he earning? So when we're talking about lifestyle, we're looking about how we survive in a community, in a society, and how we spend, or what we eat, what we drive, where we stay, and all those things. So if you prioritize, how much rent should I pay in a month? How much food should I buy? Do I even have to go and eat out? Like everyone else is going to eat out on certain events. If you just go and buy your impop, a store, and you come and cook your food, nice food, you still enjoy. But then we want to show off outside there, so that people, they say, hey, Johnny is really living large. But behind the scenes, things are happening. People are calling John, I need my money.
The money you are using to show off is borrowed money.
That's in most cases, that is what is happening.
Yeah. Ukhulumisa indzaba yokuthi kunalento yokushow offer usebenzisa leli gama lelo nalento yekhawukela ngithi kumbe kuchamukela la kulento yema trends la khona ukuthi kumbe I think we get to see a lot of things nyalo sekugcokwa kanje nyalo sekudliwa kanje noma tindzawo lekiwa kito kunathi indzawo nathi mawungayi kito ulele noma usalele emuva kubuya phi lokho kakhulu nokuthi kuyi-reality kangakanani nakulesi kubona la kubo social media lokuhambelana nale tinto ukuthi kancane kancane mawubona umuntu ashutha uphethe i-iPhone nawe sowuva ngathi ungathola i-iPhone mawuthi uyabuka titfombe abantu batipostile they're having breakfast out there, lunch out there, dinner out there, they are traveling and just having a good time, kuyi-reality lengakanani lokho Dlamini lokhu kungenteka kumbe ukhanze ukuthi bantu balala bakhona khona namuhla ngolokwekuthi babona nayo into nayo lebayibonako kumbe itolo futhi lebengekho ngalokuthi phela bekude lokuthi uyangibona mina mangabe nje ngidihambelene nomndeni wami labo bomboma besibasebenzisa katheni bebakasivumeli ukuthi sikwente lokho so ingakanani influence ye social media ekwenteni ukuthi bantu bente ema-financial choices and decisions lagcina abafake tinkingeni.
Yeah, no, siyabonga John. So njengoba basho manyanye i-lifestyle, because lifestyle is the style of life. Kunempilo itself, which is life, of which ngiyakudzinga kudla na John uyakudzinga kudla. Nami ngiyadzinga kusuka la ngifike ezulwini la ngihlala khona na John uyadzinga kusuka emsebentini ayofika endlini. But now the style now is about ukuthi mina ngisuka la ngigibela ini. Ngigibela ikhumbi noma ngigibela imoto lencane noma ngigibela ini na John kanjalo. Ngidla ini na John udla ini licingo sonke siyalidzinga ngisebenzisa lophi licingo John sebenzisa lophi licingo but so wabili at the end of the day we get to accomplish lokho lesifuna accomplish. So now I think lokwenteka with social media unako lokubhebhetela kwekuthi bantu bagcine sebaphila impilo lebangayi afford because the life they can afford ukuphila which is life, but now the style lesibafuna kusiphila sokhanza ukuthi style lesi singetulu kwaleli khikhi labo. Because there is nothing wrong about good traveler, there is nothing wrong about kuthenga imoto ledule noma kuthenga iPhone, but the question is, so when dile konke lokho are you still able to survive and to live comfortably and as we are speaking today out of debt noma ungabi sesigwenetini. So i-social media kunyendikele kwendako ukuthi ibhebhetele ukuthi bantfu baphile impilo bange-afford ngalokuthi inkinga ubona manyanya uva ngathi hayi but manyanya sasifundza naye esikolweni so uva ngathi niyalingana namanyanya but awathi ukuthi manyanya le iPhone la yisebenzisako uthengele yena nokuthi manyanya usebenta kuphi uhola malini because lokuthi niphila kanye kanye benifunza kanye kanye kumbe nihlala futhi in the same location
akuzose benefit yenkampani akasebenta kuyo lo licingo.
Exactly. Lokuthi
travel cost to him.
Yes, lokuthi nje ngitravelile ungibona ngihambile ngingeshaya kwetulwandle ngihambe ngendisa akusho ukuthi ngidibhadalele le ticket lendisa.
Kumbe
yes kumbe ngitfunyiwe ngumsebenzi kumbe you understand. And then unasone pressure ukuthi nami ngifuna ukuthi ngibonakale ngithi sifake ama-arrow kadzeni sithi oshuka o-arthambo yakhumbula siyakhomba ukuthi sibheka kuphi empini. So i-social media ngalokuthi nyalo tonke timvo setivele tibe sebaleni.
Ufulfilla ini kona lokho ecela Musa ngoba ngifuna kubuya la kule question. I think maybe you will help support the answer here Manyanya. Sikhula sathi ukuthi peer pressure iphatha abantwana nasetikolweni ukuthi hey peer pressure now they are on drugs, they are on which is why you find your early teenage pregnancies, your sexually transmitted diseases and so on and so forth. But lapdzaleni ngathi le peer pressure inengi kakhulu ikhona invele peer pressure babangwa yini bantu labadzala noma adults ukuthi abe ne peer pressure because you are not supposed to be succumbing to that type of pressure when you are an adult because like we are saying, you are aware, you are conscious, you know your situation, but peer pressure, is it something that is there with adults and people that are falling for the traps that you are mentioning coming from social media?
Yeah. I would say ukuthi evidently nasibuka ubufakazi lobuphansi lobukhona on the ground sicabanga ukuthi peer pressure ikhona ikakhulu nakubamla lesicabanga ukuthi ngabe sebengcile kuleso sigaba leso ukuthi ngaba affectwa i-peer pressure. Ngiye ngithi mina i-peer pressure ihlale ikhona so lokumele ukuthi umfa khethe is not to say ukuthi angeke abe ne-peer pressure but kumele akhethe lokho lokutamfakela i-pressure yena. So that is what I usually say ngiloko ngivame ukusho ukuthi kumele ukuthi uyikhethe le pressure lotawuvuma ukuthi i-affecte wena. So ngoba i-peer pressure akusisonke isikhathi lapho khona iba negative noma ikabi nayo yakufushe le Embili ukuthi uchubeke ukhule empilweni. So kumele ukuthi especially ngoba thina sesibadladlanyana sikhona ekukhetha ukuthi okay lena angidayibeka eceleni lena ngidayivuma ukuthi ngi-affecte ukuze ukuthi ingiside ingilokwanyana. And yentiwa ngilokuthi angisibani nosi isikhathi esinyeni baba kanye kanye bacoce imvula badendako nawe usuyahawukela hoy khabo abantu babukela ini nami sengifuna i-TV ekhaya sinenje i-TV ekhaya sayithola kanjani ngasibuka World Cup everyone was speaking about World Cup 98. That was when we bought TV. But now, our place of socialization has become social media once again. So that is where you see, oh, John is wearing the latest Italian suit. Now I want that suit. Oh, so and so has got this latest car. It's got so now sesivulele isikhala lapho khona siba khona pressurized noma siba khona influenced by the thing bayitendwa ngilabanye abantu.
Yeah. It will help a lot, Manyanya, to address the issue of peer pressure because I know a lot of people right now are in situations they are not supposed to be in simply because they felt like if I don't get this, then what will my friends say? What will my colleagues say? What will society say? The issue of peer pressure in adults, how can it be dealt with?
Yeah, peer pressure. I normally prefer to call it societal classes or even financial classes. You try to fit in a society that maybe you don't even afford to stay there. Like for example, we look at John and the Musa, right? They are driving certain cars that they are driving, but my financial affairs, they do not allow me to be there. But because I want to fit into your lifestyle, that's where I find myself stressing about how do I even get in there. So peer pressure is there because with social media, you post yourself eating at a nice restaurant and I'll be like, oh John, I can't be overtaken by John. He was behind me or I was better than him. So I have to also find myself posting even much better than him. But then I don't know how John is surviving. So the peer pressure is always there, especially with social media, like Lamine is saying, because it's unfortunate that as much as it is good, but it is also bringing us some negative effects on our lifestyle, especially on our finances, our lifestyle. Because we look at things that other people are doing, yet we don't know how are they doing it. Like he is mentioning, nothing is wrong from traveling to Mbabane to Manzini, but the style of traveling, how do you get there? You drive, I can use a public transport. At the end, we all get there. But then if you want to say, because John is driving, I also have to drive, then you are being influenced by what other people are doing. So it's not only in the young generation that peer pressure is affecting them. Adults, it is. Actually, it has been happening for years. Yeah.
I-reality yale tinto lesitibona la ngoba namhla sikhuluma ngale tinto leti ngalokuthi tiyaphaphulana vele njengoba usho mawubona bonisa ngayakho sebenta tinto lova ngathi hawu kani mina ngikuphi kani mina ngiphili you know ku-reality lengakanani ukuthi le nto lengitawubona cela musa ayenda ku social media noma aposte leto tithombe isuke iveta sithombe sokuthi lo muntu vele uphila kahle yini noma unato tonke timali tekwenta noma tekuveta lempilo lekayiphilako yini ngoba ufuna kumbe abantu bayayengeka. I just want your view because kuyafuna ukuthi sibonisane kuletinye izinto ngoba ngihawukela lento kumbe ukhanza ukuthi lo muntu nje ushutha leti jolojolo lekadlako lapha le mali uyiboleke somewhere angathi noma kuyendeka into leti njengaleto. Do we have cases of or situations where people are posting those type of things but they are not owning the cars, they are not owning the iPhones labavela bashuthe ngawo, or they are probably taking those pictures just to spite or just to make a certain statement, not necessarily because they are there? Is it a reality all the time when you see someone posting something that says it speaks to their financial situations, saying, I'm okay because I'm doing this on social media?
Yeah. Well, so now, usually, most of the time, bamvulokule bakupostako akusho ukuthi impilo yabo inlogo sonke isikhathi noma inlogo onke malanga. I think that is where we usually lose it isibambo, because nasibona John a post ekuteni kwe BMW noma ekuteni kwaleyo moto lenkulu noma kumbe ngiluphi uhlobo lwemoto a postile lapha bese siva ngathi onke malanga uhamba ngale moto le noma vele lena seyimoto yakhe kanti ukhanze ukuthi abe ku dealership nje nami nje ngangahamba nangisemaveni ngafika ngaposta ngashuthe one of these popular electric cars, Tesla, you know, but kude ngisho Tesla la kangwane. So why would then John bese soba under pressure ukuthi awucela umusu uposte ekuteni kwemoto lentene kangaka imoto lenje? But then the other question would be, even if it was true and this was their real lifestyle, but then should that put a pressure on you? Why should that put a pressure on you to want to live leyo mpilo le? Let's say yebo cela uzabe afford le mpilo le, but does that mean ukuthi wena, first of all, apart from ukuthi should it even put pressure on you, when uyayithanda, is that the life you want? When is that how you see success wena? Impumelelo engilo
lekhikhe lakho liyayivuma yini
nje?
Yeah,
because ngalesinye isikhathi ukhanza ukuthi ngoba wonke umuntu uzosebenzisa licingo lo nje nawe sofuna ukulisebenzisa, but at the end of the day ukhanza ukuthi wena ibrand elicingo lithandzako akusiyo nalena, but ngalokuthi wonke umuntu usuyayisebenzisa so vangathi wena usalele emuva. Why ungahamba uthenga lokhu lokufunako wena, lokhu lokujatshulelwa inhliziyo yakho kunokuthi ufune kwenta tinto ngoba tentiwa ngilabanye abantu? I think that also becomes a question.
Yeah, sikhuluma ngeSiswati manyanya masithi likhikhi lakho liyavuma yini, but you also spend a lot of time teaching about issues of budgeting, and which I think perhaps can help contribute to or eliminate some of the stresses that people have. You know, you get paid, you start spending your money just like that, you know. I'd say just from the air, you put your hand in the pocket, you buy, you pay, you do all those kind of things. What is the danger of that?
I think from the last interview we had, the last discussion, we did talk about you are owing someone, say, 100 malangin. Oh, we said say, 40 malangin. And then when you get paid your 100 malangin, you still want to spend 100 malangin, forgetting that you still have a 40 malangin that you have already spent that you still have to pay back. So budgeting. So
you don't have 100 malangin?
You don't have 100 malangin. You have already spent the 40 malangin. So when you budget, you put that into consideration that, okay, I'm receiving so much. All right, I've already spent so much. I still need to spend. Then you budget within the amount that is remaining, putting into consideration that you need to pay whatever you're owing. Okay, let's say you're not owing anybody, but the idea is spend what you have. And the first rule in finance is spend less than what you earn. So when you are budgeting, in other words, you are putting your money there on the table before you get it and say, okay, I've got 2,000 malangin. And then you put your expenses there. one by one and say, okay, how much are they adding up to? They're adding to 2,500 Malange. So am I living within my means? Then you start removing some of those items until you are left with the bills that you can cover with your income.
Yeah. And forget about the things you see on social media also when you do your budget.
It's unfortunate, it's unfortunate, like what Lamini is saying, because we are influenced by what is happening around, and then we forget what is happening within ourselves. So emotional intelligence is very important in finances, because
Managing your finances.
When you have got emotional intelligence, in other words, you are putting shock absorbers to the things that are happening outside. Like a vehicle, it has got shock absorbers, right? When it's traveling in a rough road, you don't have to experience those bumps. But they are there. It doesn't mean they are not there. They are there, but you shouldn't experience. So there should be some shock absorber. So you should have them yourself say, okay, I'm seeing what is happening, but my intelligence, my emotional intelligence should absorb some of those things so that they do not affect me. But if you then take up everything that is happening socially, then you find yourself being stressed, because you can't afford that lifestyle, or you end up even being involved in criminal activities just because you want to fit in the social class that John is in.
The term budgeting in itself may sound a little bit complicated or scientific, or it's an accounting type of term, And for people who probably haven't, taken much interest into those type of fields, it may look like a complicated thing to do. But I need you to help us to do it right away. If I have 2,000 in Malangen, what is it that you say I must do when I budget? Because, the reason why some people won't even budget is because they feel like, and this budgeting thing means I must take a calculator, I must draw columns, I must do this and this, What exactly are you saying when you say somebody who earns 2,000 in Malangen must budget for that amount of money?
All right. It shouldn't be very difficult, because budgeting is, in other words, it's sort of planning. You are saying, when I receive so much, I'm going to spend it this way. So when you're talking about 2,000 in Malangen, you start looking at how much rent am I supposed to pay? How much transport do I spend in a month? You don't need to necessarily have a complicated financial intelligence, or to have those big calculators. Even a phone, you can add up to say, my rent is 500 Malangen, my food is 300 Malangen, others. And then you add up and you come up with the total. They need to tell you whether you can be able to finance those bills or not.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be, because the moment you think something is complicated, it will be complicated to you.
Yeah.
But the moment you allow it to say, how best do I understand it? Or you can even seek advice. Say, okay, John, I've got 2,000 in Malangen. What can I do? Because I've been living the same life all along, but I don't see where I'm going.
I'm not managing.
Yeah. Because it's the same kind of life you have been living for the past 5 years. But even if the income is increased, but your life is not improving. Why? Because you are always finding yourself spending. It's good if you spend everything you have and you don't jump to other people's money, but then you're not going to go far, because there's a time when you might have no income. You can lose a job, the business might not do well, and then as a result, you don't have an income. So at least spend something that allows you to live something, so that in the event of a dry season, you are able to take that money. So budgeting allows you to forecast, to foresee things. Even if those things don't happen, okay.
We spoke about depression and mental health issues that arise from being in stressful financial situations. Is it possible to get out of a stressful financial situation? Because I think part of this discussion intends to help people that are already in these situations to deal with them. Some people are not able to answer their phones anymore. The children have been told, if someone is looking for me, tell them I'm not here. At the workplace, people can't come and see you, and so on,
Yes.
Is it possible to get out of those situations? And for people that are already living their lives like this, what can they do to sort of get a little bit of relief, even if they haven't paid the debt?
There's nothing that is impossible. It can be difficult, but it shouldn't be impossible. But then the reality is, some people, they find it very impossible. That's why you find that depression leads to someone committing suicide, because they find that I really can't manage, I can't cope. this one is calling me, they need their money, I don't have it. That one is calling, I no longer have options, so the only way I can have now is to terminate my life. And that is the reality. But then it is possible that you can come out of debt, but it needs you to sit down or even seek help from advisors who can sit down with you and say, okay, these are your debts here. Which one is the most expensive? Which one is the least expensive? How can you pay this and all those things? Until you don't just rush in. I prefer to say don't rush into eliminating your debt. Come to a point where you manage them. Because if you try to rush into eliminating debt when it's impossible or it sounds like it's impossible, that's why it becomes stressful, because you'll be like, I need to pay John, I need to pay Musa, all these people, I need to pay them this month, which is impossible. But at least if you give yourself an allowance, some time frame, and also come up with strategies of how can I get more income, like piece jobs, selling some items you don't need, until eventually it comes back to sort of normal debt. Until eventually you can eliminate the debt.
Yeah.
It can be a process, and it will be very painful. I don't want to lie, because once you have drifted into debt and you didn't see yourself drifting, especially because of social media, you find yourself buying a car just because you want to impress your followers. You want to be seen posting photos of you eating nice places, but then you are already digging into your pockets that are already having holes. So as a result, you
followers.
need to... Yeah.
Hey,
so
followers.
So adjusting your lifestyle is very important.
Yeah.
And, there are certain things that we can learn even outside the financial space. Allow me to bring this in. I visited my doctor and they checked my blood pressure for several times, and they're like, your blood pressure is not right. But we won't rush into giving you medication. Go and change your lifestyle. What was he meaning? He was talking about monitor what you are eating, exercise, do a lot of these things. So the same principle can apply in finance. You have to monitor your lifestyle. Start seeing it. How am I eating? Am I eating what I can afford? Am I staying in a house that I can afford? Am I driving what I can afford? Or I should just dispose of the car and go into public? And don't matter what people are going to say. Manage your lifestyle until eventually you stabilize. Then you can go and bank and buy that car that you had sold, or don't rush into buying the car until you are stable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, depression is there because of what we put ourselves into or what we allow to get inside of ourselves.
Yeah. The issue of being honest and with yourself, I think the issue of honesty generally, when it comes to dealing with managing your finances, managing your debt situation, because I feel like sometimes we ourselves know we are not in the right position to take the 40 emalangeni from Manyanya, but we take it nonetheless, Let's talk about that, because now it looks like you are in a stressful situation, whereas you knew the truth from the beginning. Let's talk about being honest when it comes to handling money.
So lokuthi umuntu atitshele iqiniso yena kuba info lemqoka, nekuthi umuntu nguyena asathi kangcono simo lakiso. Bantu bangase bangibona mina ku-social media, bangibona ngipostele kulonke upostako, babe ne-assumption ukuthi sicela umusa ukuphi, but mina ngiyathi usicela umusa ukuphi. And so lokuthi umuntu atshele iqiniso kuba mqoka kakhulu, because number one, kuyasita lekuthini wende tinqumo leti kule level lokuyo, hayi le level abacabanga ukuthi bantu kuyo. So kuba mqoka kakhulu lokho. And then ngifuna kubele emva ngalosho ngimanyanya lokuthi nawufuna ukudila netikwenete noma nedebt, kumqoka lokuthi ube nesystem noma nendlela yekwenda, ngoba lokunye lokuthi ngiyibolekele imali kuJohn, ngibe ngathi lokuthi uyaphela ngide for the next 60 days la kuqhamuka khona imali. We then tend to live on hope noma sethembe ukuthi itawuvela. And bathi ke labanye hope is not a strategy. Kwethemba akusiyo indlela yokuplana ukuthi ungaplanela ethembeni ukuthi itawuvela kuphangati nami, but itawuvela. So kuba mqoka lokuthi ube ne-strategy nalokuthi ngiyathi lokuthi nayo imali lesengiyibolekile, but sithini strategy sami sokuyibuyisela emuva. Isikhathi lesinyenti ngithi hayi itawuvela somewhere ngimnike John, nokuthi ngidamnika malini, nokuthi itawuvela malini angadi. So that becomes a problem. But kumele ukuthi akhona ama-strategies la khona latiwako lasetshenziswa umhlaba wonke ekubhadala kwenete, but kwanza ukuthi thina aswasebenzisi. Sicabanga ukuthi uma John ngimkweleta 100 emalangeni, nakuqhamuka 200 ngavele ngithathe 100 ngimnike John ngisale na 100 omunye ngibhadale manyanye 50 but that is not a strategy, it's not a structured way of doing it, because khumbula ukuthi ikwente lesinato tiba ne-interest kakhulu, so awubhadali lesikwente kuphela ubhadala nale interest. Ukhanza ukuthi nomuntu ukuthi unesikwente lesingaka uyathi interest yakhona ukuthi imalini akayathi, uyathi ukuthi ubhadala malini na ubhadala 5000 emalangeni per month. Do you know how much goes to the interest, how much goes towards reducing lesikwente sona? We have no idea. Sathi nje ukuthi sibhadala 5000 emalangeni. So lethi mfowethu imicwa ukuthi sifunde study sitokhona ukuthi tshela liqiniso ngesimo lesikiso sikhona kwenta tinqumo letingito.
Yeah. How much of being dishonest and unfaithful contributes towards being stressful, Manyanya?
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, you know, dishonesty, like what Lamini is saying. Dishonest is whereby you are now living a fake life, if I may say it. You are not being true to yourself. So when you are not being true to yourself, you are not going to be even true to your finances. You're not going to be true to your health. So as a result, you find yourself being controlled by circumstances. You'll be controlled by external environments. But when you are true to yourself, you control yourself. You control what comes what comes to you. Like when you're talking about finances, the pressure that is out there, you control what you can emulate, what you can copy from the next person, right? There's nothing wrong actually with following or doing what other people are doing, but when you are honest with yourself, you evaluate a situation by situation, whether you have to do what Johnny is doing, do you have to do what Thelumsa is not doing, and then as a result, you'll find yourself living better than when you are being dishonest with yourself.
Yeah.
Because you tell yourself that I'll manage to pay when you know very well, or when you don't want to be honest that I don't have this money, but you go and borrow 100 malangan, which you know that you won't have.
You're only driven by the fact that you need the money.
That is the problem, because there's a circumstances, maybe it's an external factor that is saying you really need this, you need to buy this phone, and then you are forced to borrow it, you are forced to buy it on credit, you are forced to borrow money to go and buy it. But when you are honest with yourself, you look at reality to say, you know what, I don't afford this, and I'm not going to get it.
But is it a solution now to start hiding, to start running away, to start not taking calls? What can I do? Because these are stressful situations on their own.
It's not a solution to hide, because you might hide, but it doesn't mean that when you hide, the debt
goes away.
It goes away. It won't. Otherwise, you'll find yourself accumulating more interest. The more you hide, the more interest are accumulating, and the more stressful it becomes, because the person that you are owing, if he has been calling you several times and looking for you and you are hiding, the anger that built up in the person you are owing will be more. When he comes to you, you will come with a lot of pressure, and you will tell you, I've got no other options. I'm taking this, I'm taking that. But when you are available, right, I come to you, no, John, I had promised you that I'm going to pay you today, Sunday, but it seems I'm not making it. Can you allow me some more time? Or even being honest to say, you know, I thought I was going to money, but for now, I don't have a clearer picture of when I'm going to get the money. But let me go and run and see what I get.
Be honest.
And even if you get 20 balangan out of 100, bring it instead of hiding, because it will make a difference, because the relationship is very important. You know, if I hide from you, I avoid your calls, I block your calls, you find a way of coming to me. And when you come, you just want to go out with your money. And you end up taking some measures. But when you are communicating and I'm available, you find that the measures you take might be lenient. You might have some lenience on me. You might also give me some favorable terms.
Yeah. In short, you are basically saying, ask for more time, be transparent, be available, be visible.
That is very important. And you ask for more time when it's necessary. But if you have, because some people are dishonest, they have the money, but they just don't want to pay.
Yeah.
They are prioritizing maybe other things. They say, yeah, you know, I have the money, but there's a phone I saw in town. You want to go and buy a new phone while you're still owing someone his money. Prioritize your things and then pay those people that you are owing. And then when you are done, then you start looking at how can I buy this phone. Even go and labor it. You take it when you are done paying instead of buying it on credit.
Akusithi lokubaleka cela Musa.
No, kubaleka akusithi. Kubaleka akusithi, yeah. No, akusebenzi kubaleka ngalokuthi lesikwelede asihambi. Actually, instead, most of the time because isikwenze sihlale sine-interest le ndalo iyaqhubeka iye etulu. So it's better ukuthi usiface and you devise a strategy ukuthi okay lesikwelede lesi ngasibhadala kanje kumbe manyanye ngiyathi ukuthi ngikwelede imali lengaka but angibele emuva si-renegotiate ema-terms nangabe kusebhizinisini angiye kuma-stand ngisho ukuthi no ibhizinisi ayihambi kahle kula malanga ngicela ukuthi i-range yami ing-3,000 emalangeni but ngicela ukubhadala 2,500 for the next 3 months until ngibuyele ngibe kahle ngiyathi ukuthi ndaba sengikweleta 1.5 extra but then kumbe ibhizinisi tabe seyipick upile but have a way of yes ukhulume and devise a strategy. Don't just hope ukuthi somehow kutawuqhamuka sekuqhamuka 12,000 somewhere along the line vele isiklerishe sonke. It usually doesn't happen like that. And bese sekuba isource yale animosity la isho umanyanya ukuthi lo muntu unaseta la somkwente 6 months akaseva lutho kanti kube wabona on the first month kustimba thambe kahle wa renegotiate ilisi yakho yate businessini ukuthi it's i-rent yenyuka after every 12 months but hamba kuma stand ubona ukuthi ma stand ilisi yethu yaphela in 2 months but ishtimba thambe kahle ngicela ukuthi manje siyifreeze le rent ingenyuki for the next 6 months ngizama ukuthi ngichube ngibhadele yona le tawe sesophinja ngenyusela utawukhanza ukuthi utawufuna ukulalela ngalesinye isikhathi but ukhombise lokuthi uyafuna na ukumbambisa because nasobaleka inkinga na ubalekile John angadi lokuthi ubalekeleni angadi lokuthi ungicabangelani mina noma mina ubona ukuthi sengilibele noma ubona ukuthi mina sengiyakwenyanyisa uyabona lokubona ukuthi nangasa nomdla sakubhlokile ubesa usathi ukuthi
uba nguzidlani nje
yes uba nguzidlani nje from the word
uyosobaleka
exactly so usivela ungitsotsi kanti unetinkinga nawe vele leti legitimate but ngeke usawuthi communicate then mina I'm left to my own conclusions.
Lama situations ebantu abasetikwenedini ahlukile manyanye. There are those people who have problems because of lifestyle issues, the peer pressures and all those kind of things. But then there are those people, even as we speak, who are going to say, you guys don't know what you are talking about. The people who have a lot of needs, and I'm talking about needs. You find the people are employed in a sector where probably the maximum pay is 2,000 emalangeni, and the person has a wife, 2 children, and they're paying rent, they say maybe 1,200, and of what's left there is probably 700, 600 emalangeni. They say you have to buy food, transport, and so on and so forth. And then they start making use of, for a lack of a better word, I'll say toxic sources of borrowing. I'm saying toxic because you find that the interest there is ridiculous, you know. Where you borrow 1,000, you have to bring it back 1,400. Maybe some people, you know. That's why I say it's toxic. You know, we need to speak to those people and give them sound advice in terms of how can these people manage. They need the money because what I have is not enough. But I need to find somewhere so I can buy some food, give some to my children so they can commute back and to and from school.
Yeah, you know, John, the issue of debts it's a very serious issue because we live in debt. We owe one person now and again. We owe people now and again, and it's a reality that sometimes the funds just don't add up. Because let's look at, you have kids that are going to school. You cannot say, for me to manage, I shouldn't send the kids to school. Because that is also going to create another problem, a societal problem. Those kids will stay at home, they still need to eat. And how are they? They are growing up, their upbringing. What will they become tomorrow? There will still be a financial burden on you because you'll still be responsible. They go and cause problems out there, you have to pay. So a reality is there that sometimes the income is really not enough. So it's imperative that we look at what else can I do? You know, developing yourself in other areas, having other skills so that you can generate income from those skills can be one way. And then you can look, if you are employed by an employer, a company or an organization, you can talk to your employer maybe for instance, if the company is doing well, they can actually advance you your salaries. Maybe usually you find that there's no interest there. Instead of going to Dramini, it's going to charge you 40%, 30%. While if you go to the employer, if they can give you an advance or a loan without interest at all. And if your contract is long term, they will look at, okay, Johnny is valuable here. So instead of us putting pressure on John to say pay up, we still have him for a long time. So the terms will be very, very flexible. Instead of paying 1,000 in 2 months, you can pay 1,000 in 12 months, which makes it gives you some allowance to adjust your finances. It gives you some room to maneuver around your finances. While
Speak to your employer, that's what you are saying.
But then there are some times when your employer cannot afford.
I know.
Yeah, there are some companies that are not afford. So when you are borrowing, you have to look at the cost. How much am I going to pay? If I borrow 1,000, how much am I going to pay back? After how long? So if you are going to borrow a man that has got an interest amount that is supposed to cover up some of your expenses, like for example you said 1,000 and then you pay back 400 malangin on top is a lot of money. You can pay rent with that money, you can buy food, but now in other words you're already digging into your budget, you're already digging into your other needs. That 400 interest is already becoming a need, just like food, because you have to pay it back.
Yeah. And this is a personal one, Manyanya. If somebody needs to speak to you, they have issues, you kept saying speak to somebody who can assist. Do you yourself provide this type of services?
I can say I do provide that on a personal level, because I'm not a certified financial
You are not
advisor.
A certified financial
So we can just talk as friends to say, okay, do this and that. And what I do is I don't tell you to say, go and do this. I give you options and you make the decisions yourself to say, can I implement this? I can make suggestions.
Of course.
Yes.
Manyanya, thank you so much. Cela uvalelise Dlamini sesifike emaphethelweni nalo-ke hlelo usho akho egcina amagama. Kuloyo muntu lo bathe uyalala ebusuku lo buthongo abehli, isolution iviki ngeliviki ayichamuki njengoba bobekisa lo ukuthi uyithethe le mali yalo muntu and futhi awuyibona ayichamuka khona. So uzuvale nalo licingo kumbe lebe wafaka nema application. Futhi ngaba yakushayela bathe babe salobuye emsebentini uvale lo licingo ngalo ukuthi Manyanya ufuna 500 emalangeni wakhe.
Yeah. Well, siyabonga John, siyabonga ngoba maswathi beka sola silalele. Maybe advice ethu yegcina ukuthi let us face up to the kwente lesitendile emadebts lesinawo, siwabale siwati onke ukuthi anganani, and then let us devise a strategy, indlela yokuthi sitawabhadala kanjani. Noma ngabe strategy sitawubhadala kancane kangakanani, but lokuthi sesine structure lesitasisebenzisa kusebenza nalenkinga le kwawona lokho nje kutawusetfula umthwalo lomkhulu kakhulu, because sesitawathi usinasuka la siya kuphi kumbe indlela tabayinze, but at least sizabe siyathi ukuthi indlela lesiyisukako isuka la iyawufika kuphi, and then bese siyaqala siyaqatfuta siyawufika khona sesigijima John.
Dlamini, thank you so much for coming through even today. Manyanya, thank you so much once again for sharing your insights on this topic. Maswatla mahle sibongile kuba nathi ke ehlelweni. Mina bengingacela la ngoba sikhuluma ngala ridiculous interest lawa lagcina sekenda labantu besibuthi athi babalekelani. But now the answer is this is costing an arm and a leg, like literally sometimes, which you find that the reason why some people are running away, because you are now basically looking for somebody's leg. If you are not going to pay me, I'm going to break your leg. So uyabaleka kumuntu. The economic situation it's him to charge 10%, 15, maybe 20%. We see people paying 40, 50% because of desperation. They take this amount of money, but what does it do in our society? A lot of people falling into depression, families breaking up, suicides, and so on and so forth. Ibitola ngijona ngakapheleza sibongo Jehova kasicine sibonana ngalokho akusiphilile. Msale kahle.